Welcome, everybody. It's that time. It's 8 o'clock or a little after. It's Thursday night. It is, what is today? December the 8th, 2022. And it's time for another episode of the Get Off My Lawn podcast. So I'm glad you're here. See, I've got several of you already out there in the comments that are lighting it up there on the YouTube side at least. And hopefully pretty soon here we'll have people on the Facebook side as well, maybe even on Twitter. You know what? Let's refresh this page here and just make sure that it's showing up. It is. You know what? We're going to pin that one instead. There we go. Now the new one's pinned at Twitter. If anybody wants to go follow the Twitter page, it is at SandhillsJohn. So you can go do that if you want to. If you don't tweeter, if you're not a tweeter on the Twitter, if you're not a Twitter tweeter, then I get it. I just recently was. When I was in Facebook jail, and I still wanted contact with the world, so I built the Twitter account, and yeah, I still get on there sometimes. It's a little more fun now because you can see a lot more stuff coming through the feed ever since the Elon apocalypse happened over there. So it's kind of fun. We might have to take part of an episode here sometime soon and just talk about what's going on over there if I get enough of you that care about the tweeting on the twitting. So, all right, we've got, you know what, we're going to do this. Let's Brady Bunch this. I've only got so far one guest here in the room, but I do have a few people that have said they'll pop in here after a while. And so we've got Pat in a bunker, and he got that name because he's Pat and he's in a bunker. So for those of you that weren't sure where that very creative name came from, he put a lot of time and thought and effort into it, and that's what he came up with. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Actually, I cannot take credit for that name. I can't even remember who gave me that nickname, but it's stuck ever since. So
I don't remember who it was either. Somebody at some point said you should just change your channel to Pat in a bunker, since we always say it's Pat in a bunker. So
yep, pretty much.
That's pretty cool. So, deep underground in an undisclosed location, known only to a few. It's very rare that anybody gets in there and gets out alive with the location. So somewhere near the Kansas-Nebraska border. That's all we know. I know where the entrance is. It's somewhere down there in Webster County, but we don't know exactly where. So
somewhere.
And that's all right. We're not asking you to give any details out. All right, who do we have out there holding it down in the chat? We've got Justin Gibbons out there. Apparently he's just woken up. Patriot in the Dark is only here for Sandhill's Sweetheart. She's out there in the chat. She's still not feeling super well, and she's coughing a lot, and she didn't want to well, she was comfortable, number one, and number two, she didn't want to be coughing all over during the broadcast, so she's out in the other room, but she's holding it down in the chats and the comment section out there. So Patriot, you can see her. All you can see that she's out there. Who else do we have? Rich White's in the house. Blitz is out there. Pat doing double duty, and my beautiful bride Sandhill's Sweetheart is out there as well. Let's just put her up on the screen. Keith Gregory's in the house. So get those comments going, and we'll bring people in as they show up here into the green room. We'll pop people up on the screen, but this may be kind of a short episode. We'll see what happens. But you know what? I've kind of wanted to have. When we started the season back off, I thought, what can we do that's kind of lighthearted and not super deep and fun, and maybe people will actually want to watch it. So if you missed it last week, we kicked off the season 4 with the guns that we love, and we had almost a full house on screen. We had a whole bunch of people in here talking about guns that they love, and most of it was stuff that they actually owned, but some of it was some other stuff too, and we didn't limit it to what you own or what you've ever shot. But tonight we're going to flip that over, and we're going to talk about the guns that we love to hate. And there can be many, many reasons why. And again, it doesn't have to be anything that we've owned. It doesn't have to be anything that we've ever shot. There can be many, many reasons. It could just be that they're fugly. People love to hate on the Glocks or whatever, just because they're ugly and they all look alike and whatnot. And, that's fine. I thought maybe Squib would be here just to go off a little bit and badmouth the Glocks, but that didn't happen. So, all right, we can kick this off. You know what? I'm going to let you take this and start this off, Pat, because once we get me going, who knows how long it's going to take before I stop, because I've got it's not just the gun. Well, it's not the guns at all. It's the company. So I'm going to go off on a little bit different tangent. So guns that you love to hate.
Well, I'm going to take a wild guess, and the one that I know that you're going to go off
Yeah,
on.
we'll get there. What are the ones you love to hate?
Right. But I'm just going to throw a hint out there just in case nobody else knows this. It starts with an S.
One of them.
But you're right. We will get there. We will get there. But just to let everybody know, the impact is coming imminently. Well, I really haven't picked up too many guns in my life that I look at functionality, reliability. It doesn't have to be the prettiest gun in the world. As long as it works, as long as it shoots straight, usually I'm pretty okay with it. But I have picked up a couple of guns that have not necessarily fit my hand or that just kind of fugly. And I know I'm going to get a lot of damn hate over this because I know there's a lot of guys out there that love them. I'm not a Glock fan. I'm just not. Now, I know they're reliable. I know they work. I know they shoot. Just the one merit, it's got the ergonomics of a 2x4, in my opinion. Now, that's the only thing I have to knock it. As far as reliability and being able to take it out, shoot it, yeah, sure, I can shoot it reliably. But I don't like it.
and that's okay. Like I said, this is supposed to be fun. I mean, there's no apologies needed, no apologies necessary here, and so you don't have. Not everybody has to like everything. Not everybody has to like the same stuff, right? So that's why there's so many different manufacturers and so many different designs out there, and with the exception of possibly Glock and maybe a few others, most of them offer lots of different designs, so that they kind of cater to a wide variety of customers. Glock would be the obvious exception. That they all look the same, feel the same, smell the same. Probably taste the same depending on which solvent you use to clean them. But most people aren't chewing on their guns. But there's the old saying, I cut my teeth on a single shot 22 or something like that. So you never know.
Yeah, I hope people didn't take that literally.
Well, there's worse things to let the kid chew on. Give him a Glock, you can't hurt it. If you it's still gonna shoot.
That's true. They might put some dents in the plastic, but other than that, it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It'll still run. As long as the magazine catch holds, you're good.
Yep.
Anything else you don't like?
The one thing, another manufacturer, and again, the only thing I can knock them for is they're worse than Glock. It's buried right now. You can't see it. Maybe it's a good thing. The old school 995 high points. God damn, they's ugly. And unergonomic. I have a 9mm pistol caliber carbine behind me. And don't get me wrong, the only problem that I've ever had with it is the firing pin spring broke. And it was the very first gen that they had problems with, and it finally had enough rounds through it that it broke. Called up the company. They sent me the parts out without even batting an eye, no charge. Upgraded firing pin and spring. Works great. I've never had any problem, even though they're a cheap gun. But the plastic body on them and everything is just, damn, I can think of a lot of other guns that are fit the hand a lot better and 10 times better looking than that thing. But again, that's the only thing I have to knock on it. So it's just ugly.
Well, and people bash them all the time, but I mean, you know what? I think Tony is going to be in. Tony Simon's going to be in here in a little bit, and I mean, he has a very good working relationship with High Point through the diversity shoot. And I mean, say what you want to about the product, but the company I think is second to none as far as dealing with them, which you've already experienced. But so again, I'm not making apologies, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not being apologetic for Pat or anybody else that joins the panel, but we may bash the product. It has no bearing on the company. We may bash the company. Has no bearing on the product. Could be both. But again, this is mostly just to rile people up. That's what it is. So if anybody happens to be offended or gets a little butthurt by anything that gets said tonight, I'm going to just offer this this blanket apology right now. The only apology that we will offer. I'm sorry that you're a whiny little cupcake and your feelers got hurt. You should probably grow the hell up. There is the apology that we're going to give. Okay, so anyway, yeah. I'm going to go off a little bit now. I don't think I've ever actually hated any particular firearm. There are some that I would rather chew my own arm off than spend my own money to buy one. But if somebody gave it to me, I wouldn't, I wouldn't turn it down. It may be, go directly into the trading stockpile, or it may be something that gets sold or just never touched or whatever. I will say a couple guns that I've shot that I just couldn't really stand, or one that stands out anyway, is the and I've said this before on the show, but Smith and Wesson's SD9 VE, the value edition. It's for those of you that aren't familiar with all of Smith and Wesson's models. This one is the latest evolution with what started with Sigma, which Sigma was the Glock killer, or supposed to be. And this one is the latest in that lineup. The VE stands for Value Edition. They don't give you much creature comforts with it, and no back straps or anything like that change out. And I think maybe only one magazine. I don't know, but the trigger on that is just, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And for those of you that have shot striker fired automatics, you're used to taking up some slack. There's a wall, and then a little more pressure, the shot breaks. The trigger breaks right there, and that's when it fires. And by breaking, I don't mean malfunctioning. I mean that's when the shot breaks. And a good trigger, when you take up that slack, and then you follow through, it should break like a glass rod. That's what they always say. A good trigger feels like breaking a glass rod. That SD9 VE, and I've only ever shot one. But I have compared notes with several people that have owned them, and they all said that this is pretty much the way it is. But there's take up and take up and take up and take up, bang, but there's no wall. So the thing, it'll surprise you when it goes off. And if you're used to trying to stage that trigger a little bit, then you're going to have some serious problems there, because it never happens. So you just have to get a feel for it. And I just, it was shooting with my cousin, and he had one, and I shot it, one or two shots, and I didn't even want to finish out the magazine, I think. So that was one of the things for me that I just couldn't get behind. And again, if anybody gives me one, I'm not gonna tell them no or be rude. I'll be a gracious recipient, but at the same time, I'm not gonna buy one for myself, and it's not gonna be one that goes in the business, the instructor stable, as far as being able to put something in somebody's hand and have them try a few different things out. I'm just not going to do it with that one. So, and a close, as far as triggers go, I think a close second would be the Taurus, like the G2C series or the G2 series, whatever. Clear back to the PT111. The trigger on that is great. It just has an awful lot of travel, and just when you think that you're at you're back at the back of the trigger guard, then you finally get to it's got a wall. You finally find it. There's just a whole lot of take up in before that. Now, if that's the only gun you shoot, then it's not a problem because you don't know any different, right? You can still stage the trigger, you can still make precise shots, not a problem there. And if if you're the type of person that likes to keep your finger on the trigger and ride it forward just as far as the reset and then fire again, it's not a long reset, that's for sure. So it just, again, it's different than everything else. It takes some getting used to is all. And so I'm just not used to that. So if I owned one, I'd have to put a lot of rounds down range to get used to that first shot, or I'd just probably have to get used to that first shot going maybe a little bit goofy on me before I get it settled back down. So so I'm going to abdicate the rest of my list, and we're going to bring Rich in here and let Rich say hi. How are you tonight? You're muted. We cannot hear you.
Mute.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. I'm talking for crap, I forgot to mute. Yeah,
No
yeah, it's good to be on. I haven't been on in a while, but I don't even know if I've been on since the wife's been through her surgery and stuff, have I?
I don't think so. I haven't caught up with you in a long time. We need to catch up when we go off the air here.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about it on air or not, but she had to have a hysterectomy, so she's got that done. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, so they were worried that it might be cancer and stuff that she was, and thankfully it wasn't. But
Good.
They weren't going to know until they did a full autopsy, biopsy rather, not autopsy. Once they got,
she's still alive. She's doing
yeah,
well.
she's alive and well. Anybody who watched my show on Sunday knows because they heard her yelling at me.
Oh, good. I have to go back and watch that one.
But yes, she is alive and well. She's up in bed right now, so I can't get too loud, or else she'll come down the stairs yelling at me again.
You don't need that. You don't want you getting yelled.
No, but yeah, she's doing much better, so that's good.
Good deal. Well, I tell you what, we're gonna let you go through any or all of the guns that you love to hate. The list may be long and distinguished, or maybe you don't hate any, but since you're here, I'm guessing you probably have something to say.
Yeah, as I said out there in the YouTube chat, top of the list, probably Pat's going to have to go Glock. I don't shoot them well. I've never shot them well. I've shot Glocks from Gen 1 to Gen 5, and there's just something about those. I don't know if it's the grip angle. Personally, I actually do think it's the grip angle, but there's a reason. When I was playing Little League, I messed my wrist up, and after I shoot a couple of rounds, and then it just starts to irritate my wrist badly, having to hold it at that grip, because you know how Glocks are. If you hold them at a regular grip angle like you do with a 1911 or something, you're shooting over your target.
Right.
You got to tilt them down a little bit, and that just doesn't work with my right wrist at all.
Have you thought about trying to be left-handed?
I cannot shoot left-handed.
That, I tell you what, that is the bane of my existence is practicing left-handed. I'm like everybody else. They say, of course, when you go to the range, don't practice what you're good at, practice what you suck at. But I suck at it so bad that I just can hardly ever bring myself to spend time working on my weak hand. So I definitely need to pick that one up a little bit more. Yeah. So real quick, we'll let Rich get back to this, but Tony, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm fine. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, just kind of hanging out. Glad you're along with us for the ride. We'll give you a chance to sound off here in a little bit, but first off, Rich, anything else besides Glock that you wanted to go off on at all?
Smith & Wesson airweights.
Okay.
I do not like those. My wife. Okay, you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say the airweight. I've got very, very limited experience with the Smith & Wesson wheel guns. So the airweight is that I know it's a J frame. That's the little.
Yeah, it's the little J frame with the aluminum instead of steel, and a 38 special out of that almost feels like you're shooting a 44.
Now I just picked up a 642, the Centennial model.
That's what my wife had, and she hated it.
Is that one? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that one's got the aluminum frame.
Yeah, the 642s are an airweight.
Okay, so yeah, it carries like a dream.
Oh yeah, they're extremely light. That's the problem.
I'm with you though. When I first went out with that thing, and mine is the Performance Center, so it's got the tuned trigger. I mean, it's got a very slick action on it. It shoots like a dream, but it came with the nice rosewood grips that with
Mm,
they don't wrap around the back strap, just the two piece wood grips. Now they do have the full hand grip. It's got a place for the pinky. It's not the two finger
mm-hmm.
rosewood grip. It's the three finger grip. But I took those off and I put a Hogue on there, and that's been a game changer. So I was
Yeah,
talking about that a little
my
bit, I think, last week.
my
But
wife's had the rubber combat grips on them, which were the full length grip, and she did not like that thing at all. And that thing recoiled using 38 special worse than my 627 shooting full power 357 Magnum does.
wow, yeah, no, mine tamed it right down with the Hogue grips, and I've never shot plus P through it, but I've shot the American Eagle 158 lead, and I've shot the what is it, the PMC, I think, 130 grain uh, ball ammo, and I've got some wad cutters in it. Those things shoot like a dream, I tell you what. Um, Mixed reviews. I know some of you are going to say, "Hey, that's a great defensive load," and some of you are going to say, "Hey, you're stupid." I get it. That's fine. Anybody that thinks that any bullet is a terrible defensive load, if you want to volunteer to stand in front of it and have somebody shoot you with it and tell me it won't do any harm, then we'll let you test it. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to be the one running the trigger either. So
Yeah,
I don't want
right.
to be around for that day. But anyway, no, I totally understand that. And I don't have tough hands. I'll be the first one to admit it. My hands are not very tough, and so I definitely would have to man up quite a bit to shoot that more had I not swapped out the grips. So,
Yeah.
but
It was an accurate pistol. I mean, for short distance, 7 to 10 yards, the thing was dead on accurate. It's just
Yeah.
she didn't like the recoil on it, and she didn't like it. I didn't like it because I had to hear about how she didn't like it. So.
right. Nope, that's all right. So, all right. So, airweights, Glocks, anything else for you that you wanna mention?
uh, I guess I go with Pat again. The high points simply because of the way they look. I mean,
Okay.
if you want a gun, I mean, you don't got the money. They're a good gun. If for somebody who can't afford something better, they work. They're built like a tank. You can beat somebody over the head with it if worse comes to worse, and do some damage with it. But yeah, it's simply because you said looks could be one of the things. So yeah, simply based on looks, the high point.
If you don't like it, then you don't like it, whether it's the cosmetic or whatever is the case. So, totally understand that. All right. Well, Mr. Tony, we will give you a chance to talk about the ones that you love to hate. Like I said, it could be something specific. It could be a brand in general, or a specific line of guns in general, or maybe you just don't like heck. It could. I guess it could even be a. I don't know. We're not going to bring the calibers in. That's a whole different rabbit hole. We'll do calibers that we love and hate maybe down the road here, but the firearm itself.
Well, I've been thinking about it because I like almost everything. I have the high point. I have that. They serve a purpose. I have black powder. Handguns. I really enjoy my Remington new model. Um, but it came out, and I'm like, what do I really love to hate? I don't hate them per se, but I love to hate them. Gucci guns.
Okay.
Gucci guns, Gucci-fied guns. It's great. It's fun. Look at the pictures. It's great. IG, clicking a like. It's great. But when it really comes down to it, you have a CZ75, you have a Glock 19, you have a Glock 17. Now you've sliced up the entire receiver. You've got undercuts. You've had to get stipple jobs. You have everything done to it. You have a compensator on it. You've lightened the slide. You've turned the whole thing into a project that was one of the most dependable guns ever issued. Is a Glock 17, and now you've made it into something that only runs if you use this particular ammo in it in 148s. You know what I mean? You've turned a dependable thing into something that's not, and you've dropped a gang of money in doing it, and now that's the only one you have. It's like, all right, cool. I mean, that's your thing, if you're going to run it in a competition, if you're going to be a carry gun, cool. But you just paid $3,000 for a Glock 17.
Yeah.
All said and done, it's like it's still a Glock 17. Um, I don't care who the manufacturer is. You know, you had so and so do everything to it, and I'm like, I carry a Gen 2 Glock 19. and hey, again, part of it is okay. Also, it's like, you know, I like this stuff, but I can't afford it because I can't justify it to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
he's-
glad. And I love
Yeah.
when other people have it. I like shooting everybody's Gucci'd up gun. I mean, it's fun, but it's fun. And that's all it is to it. It's like, you know, I like watching sports cars. I like checking out other people's sports cars. Hell, remember the Rob Report magazine? You know, you got this magazine that's more expensive than I spent on the magazine, showing all the best stuff there is. And it was really great. But to me, I can't justify it to myself. Maybe if I had a lottery win, I'd have a Gucci gun. And we saw what I do with my revolver. I mean, come on, dude. I had, you know, gold trigger, gold hammer, gold hammered, polished job. Meanwhile, it's still a Smith & Wesson 686. It just
I
looks
don't
really
know.
cool.
I wouldn't classify that one as much a Gucci gun as I would a barbecue gun.
Yeah,
it's a
definitely a barbecue gun. Yeah, I mean, Gucci gun and barbecue gun, I think, is slightly different things in my mind. Because when you Gucci it up, you did a whole bunch of stuff to it. Kind of like, what do you call it? Was it Whitley? J.C. Whitley?
J.C.
The
Whitney?
catalog? Yeah, the catalog that you could put all this extra crap on your car.
Yep.
And it's like, you kind of did that with your gun, dude. And now you've lightened everything and it's not dependable. But it looks really cool.
Dude, I don't know if you saw Honest Outlaws video he just did. He had the new Terran Tactical Glock 34. That thing has some horrible sights on it for as much as that gun cost.
I was looking at that and I'm like, it looks really cool because I shot the Terran Tactical Combat Master, the pistol from the first John Wick movie. Friend of mine had it, Corinne Butler. We were at Kevin Dixie's Train and Learn, and she broke that sucker out, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was like a glass rod. I was shooting it. Could not justify that in my head. I'm like, I picked up a used Glock 34 for like $3.99. That somebody decided they could do their own stipple job, and it looked like they dog chewed it. But it was sub $400 for a Glock 34, and I took it. And this person had like a agency arm, something trigger put on it, and a different sight. And I'm like, that's about it. I'm cool with that. But yeah, it's great. And I love the fact that gun people are cool because they'll let you shoot their Gucci gun.
Yes.
They will let you shoot their $7,000 Terran Tactical artwork.
That is one of the distinctions between gun people and car people, because somebody rolls in a, you know, like a 65 Mustang, they're not going to let you look at it full on, let alone touch it, let alone drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, the fancy gun people, they'll let you shoot the fancy gun. It's funny how that works.
When I was at basic training, there was a drill sergeant, going to your story about the Mustang. He had a 69 fastback, and if you even got within 10 yards of that thing,
Yeah.
you were doing some push-ups.
Yeah, you can always tell which people they are. You can spot them in any parking lot because they intentionally take up two spots just so nobody hits them with their door. And the nice ones, I don't care if you do that, if you park down at the far end of the row. But when you're, you know, there's the first three slots closest to the door right after the handicap spots, and you've taken up two of them, well, now you're just a jerk. So if you're going to do that stuff, do it, you know, go to the far end of the parking lot and do it where nobody parks anyway. I get it, you know. But if that's the case, why are you there? Why'd you drive it out there? Put the thing in the garage if you love it that much. And you know, that's kind of like the Gucci guns and stuff. The people that carry those every day, like, they must have way more dollars than cents. I don't know how else to say it, because if I had a Gucci gun, it would be wrapped up in a cloth, you know, like an oilcloth, wrapped up, boxed up inside a little safe, inside a gun safe.
I'm trying to think of the difference. Okay, I know. Because I do like CZs, right? I like CZ75s. So
Uh-huh.
you have a CZ75 SPO1. Cool. But then you send it to CZ Custom and have them do just a whole bunch of stuff again to your carry gun. And you lighten the way you do this, you do that. And it's like, or you could have bought a Sphinx and had a high-end CZ75 straight from the factory that's factory sprung, that has an even better trigger, that has all this stuff. And it's like, okay, you've put so much like cutting edge aftermarket stuff on it at this price, and it doesn't work dependable anymore. I think that's the kind of, especially when there's like a who else makes something that's a Gucci Glock, but you can buy it straight from, and it's still factory, but it's got the slide cuts, it's got the optic cut, it has the better trigger, but it's a factory Glock. So hammer, strike, or fall, boom, gun goes bang, and not something you dance with. And I think that's the difference.
No,
Yeah, you can get the classic car, you can get the high end car, whatever. But when you start putting all the aftermarket stuff, what was it? One of my guys, he had this is back in the day. Was it a Hyundai? Hyundai. Frig, what was the one the kids would dump all the money in and put the tires on and springs and the motor? And it was like, how much money did you put in that $10,000 car? He's like, $25,000. It's like that's
Well,
You
depending
talking about the little sports car looking one?
yeah. Was it a Hyundai?
Was that the Tiburon or something like that?
I don't even remember. I just know he took me somewhere in it. I had to go somewhere, and I'm in this little. It's a Hyundai, and he's got the carbon fiber seats and a carbon fiber. It's a $10,000 car with $20,000 to $25,000 worth of work on it.
Yeah, the ones that get me are the ones that have like the little Hondas or like the Honda Civic or something like that, and they put the loud exhaust on it, thinking it makes the car cool.
Hey,
Now-
it's an age thing. It's. I was stupid when I was young. You know what I mean? I had the huge speakers in the car that just distorted the music, and you couldn't even hear it. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess in my mind, it'd be more like this. The barbecue gun is kind of like if you have that older classic car, you've got like a '69 Camaro, and
I had one.
cool. Okay, so I mean, it's not it's not all original, but really all you've done is put chrome on it and given it a custom paint job. Okay, I mean, under the hood, you're pretty well stock. As far maybe there's a Holly carburetor or whatever, but the main thing is that it's the same car, but it's got different skin. It's shinier and got custom paint and some chrome, and that's like a barbecue gun. And the Gucci gun is like when you take that '65 Mustang, and then you take it down to not just the JC Whitney, but you take it down to the tuner shop. And they've dropped some sort of high performance 4-cylinder engine into it, and they've put little 12-inch rims on it, and it's got hydraulics and everything else. And I mean, then you've completely hacked up this thing that was a classic thing of beauty, and now it's an abomination.
Yeah.
Maybe
it just clicked with me. Yeah,
some people think it's pretty because it's flashy.
it's the difference between taking your classic car to year one and have it all redone up to look like it came off a showroom floor, or taking it and having what's his name? Exhibit on Pimp My Ride, put TVs in your bumper. That's what it is.
My Camaro probably fell somewhere in between there because it was built when I was in high school. I found the car in a junkyard. It was all rusted out except for the roof. I paid for the engine and got the rest of the car free. I had it sitting in my grandfather's backyard. I was talking to the metal shop teacher who also ran the engine shop, who also in the car shop and everything at the high school. He's like, if we'll come, we'll get your car. We can bring it in here. We can fix it for you. And since you're a student, you won't have to pay for it. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, you just let us do it as part of the teaching project, and you won't pay a cent for it. I was like, oh, I can't beat that deal. They tubbed out the rear end, bored out the engine to a 402, because it was a 396 SS engine. I don't know if the whole frame was, since the body was pretty much gone. But they rebuilt the entire car with a fiberglass body on it, and that thing would run.
Oh, that's a heck of a deal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I paid $500 for the engine. That was it. That's all I paid out of pocket for it.
All right, so let's steer this back away from the cars, and we'll put it back to the guns here. But Tony, anything else that just really bugs you that you hate on it?
I don't think I hate on really anything, and it took a lot for me to come up with that one. But it was like, what is just one of the things that make the eye twitch a little bit? It's like, oh, cool, but was it one of those things? Just like that's about it. So yeah, that was me scraping the bottom of the barrel for just a little annoying thing. And it's a small eye twitch. It's not like I see somebody and I really judge them. Oh, you're a loser, dude. You should no. It's just I look at the thing and I'm like, cool. Can I shoot it?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Anybody with a barbecue gun, a Gucci gun, a box stock, Glock 19. If you offer me a chance to shoot it, I'm going to shoot it, and I'm not going to have a problem with putting a magazine or two through it. That's I'm fine with it no matter what it is. But I'm going to go off on a couple different things, and one of them is something that I actually own two of off the top of my head, and the first thing is the little key lock on a gun, whether it's a revolver or Taurus even had some automatics back in the day that had the key lock. But my Taurus tracker has that, and my 642 actually has that, and I just don't understand why you would build something like that into the mechanism. It's just one more thing to potentially go wrong. Anything mechanical can fail, right? So if you want to lock the gun up, I totally understand that. Do so with a gun lock. Put a trigger guard lock on it, or a cable, or whatever you need to do. But why would we want to put extra moving parts into a machine when they don't serve any purpose other than making people feel good and possibly complying with laws somewhere? But that would be the only other reason to do it. So, and plus, if I did lock the thing and throw it in the safe, I go to get it out, better than even chances I've lost the key, or it's not where I thought I had it, or whatever, and now I've got to go hunt for the thing, and the gun is 100% inoperable until I can get that thing found and get it popped back out. And I haven't even tried. I don't know if the Taurus and Smith & Wesson take the same Allen key or if it's something different. But it's got to be the security Allen key, not, it's got to be the one that with the hollow end and the wrench, so that little post goes in there. So not just any Allen wrench will work. So yeah, I mean, it's such a pain in my butt. So I don't touch those. And hopefully mine will never fail me and make my gun inoperable. And the second thing that really bugs me is the little Heritage Rough Rider 22s with a little safety lever on them. It's a single action 22 caliber pistol. It's got a safety built in. It's called put the hammer down on an empty chamber and don't touch it. That's your safety. So anything else is just operator error, really. So learn how to be safe and responsible with your firearm, and your single action does not need an extra safety lever. Again, another piece of mechanical stuff to fail when you don't want it to. And for a Rough Rider, it's probably not a self-defense gun, so I mean, it's not probably going to be life or death, but at the same time, it's again, it can be a source of major contention. So
then if we're gonna do that, grip safeties on 1911s.
There you go.
Bruh, I don't need a grip safety on the 1911. I just ran my CZ75 that has the thumb safety in a IDPA practice qualifier, whatever you call those things, at the local match. And yeah, boom, 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 boom. And one of my guys finally brought his Max Michel Max Michel 1911 and 40 Smith and Wesson. He had it, and I really enjoy shooting that gun. Well, I'm running some rounds through it, and my grip came off a little bit, and I didn't depress the grip safety. And I'm like, yo, what the? Oh, okay. And I'm like, it was in the middle of my string because I was trying to do I think it's 8 or 9 shot string real quick because I wanted to videotape it and put it on something. And because I changed my grip, all of a sudden I couldn't pull the trigger that time. And I was like, oh, that sucks. He was like, that's all right. Here's another mag. Run it through it. Let's video it again. And I used that video on one of my reels, but earlier this week or last week or something like that. But I'm like, dude, this doesn't need a grip safety. It's a competition gun. And back in the day, some of the old cops that carried these things, some of the Rangers, they actually either had it, I guess, welded, or they had string or something wrapped around it to press the grip safety in all the time. Yeah, it was always in because of that.
Yeah, you can also put a pin through it. You know, drill a hole through the grip and it goes through the grip safety, and you can put a pin in there.
Pin it in place. Yeah, because if you need that gun, because I had a 1911 and I really did not train with it or shoot it as much as I should have. Hindsight, when you've heard your first gun, you're really excited about it, and you thought you shot it a lot because you took it out once every 3 months and put a magazine through it, or twice a year. And man, I wish I could jump back in the time machine, mainly because it was the early 90s and I would have bought a buttload of 45 ACP and a bunch of Wilson Combat mags.
No kidding.
But yeah, that's one of the things. It's like, why is this here? It's an extra failure point. I mean, I know why it's here because I've read the history and everything else, and the Army wanted it because it was a cavalry gun. It was a one-handed gun. Right. But even what's his name? John Moses Browning was like, yeah, this is stupid. I've a thumb safety on for a reason. If I ever get to redo this again, I'm leaving that grip safety off.
Which he did.
Hello, high power.
Which actually worked to his benefit, though, when he had to design the high power, because he had to get around his own design without infringing on patents. So
yeah,
it was like a Eugene Stoner problem. Hey, I made M16. Do it again. AR-180.
Yeah, and you were talking about the lock on the Smith & Wessons. I belong to Smith & Wesson Gun Cabinet, which is an imitation forum, basically, and they throw up surveys and stuff on there. And one of the surveys they did a month or so ago had nothing but about the so-called Hillary hole on the Smith & Wessons. So don't be surprised if in a couple of months you start seeing those go bye-bye.
Well, that'd be awesome. If they, I mean, it doesn't matter. Mine's bought. I'm not going to go out and trade this one off and get a different one. But it is what it is. So let's say hello to Rob. Rob Beckman is in the house. How are you, sir?
Evening, everyone. Doing good.
Cool. Glad to have you along. So we're just going to throw you right into the fray here. We've all just it was a car chat for a while, and we got it steered back off of that track. But do you have any gun, either the design or a specific model or even a maker that you love to hate?
Well, I'll tag along with what Tony was talking already with a very interesting story from just a couple months ago. I was at the Guardian Conference out in Oklahoma City back in September, and actually had a student on the line who had one of the M&P 380 EZs. They're easier to rack and such, but they have grip safety. And this specific woman was a very accomplished shotgun shooter. She had won many NRA awards, many matches, different things like that. But when it came to her 380 EZ, she couldn't grip it tight enough. She had, some arthritis and such. And we also went along and realized that when you're shooting a shotgun, you don't hold that wrist of the shotgun like your life depends on it. You put your hand there, which is kind of a point to make sure your finger, hits the trigger in the right place. So then you pull the trigger. The recoil is felt by, goes into your shoulder, and that's where you shoot it. Well, she did the same way on the 380 EZ, and I can tell you, the first time she shot, it worked. The second time, didn't work, and we were trying to figure out whether it was a ammunition problem or what the issue was, and it took us about a half an hour to realize that she just did not have the hand strength to go along to deactivate that grip safety. And those are the types of things to where I think people don't always realize that, okay, if you're a young 20-year-old male, you probably got plenty of strength in your hands because you don't have early arthritis. But if you are a 70-plus-year-old accomplished shotgun shooter, you've never really tuned up those muscles to be able to grip the grip of a pistol to deactivate the pistol, the grip safety on it. And that made it very difficult, to the point that by the end of the 3-day weekend, they had taped her grip safety so it would not interfere with her shooting, because she could shoot fine. She just didn't have the grip on it to be able to deactivate that safety. And the 380 EZ is supposed to be easier to rack, easier for people that have arthritis or smaller hands to be able to shoot. But that's one of those situations there, kind of what Tony was talking about, to where somebody's physical limitations would keep her from using that gun the way it was originally designed without some kind of modification. A piece of tape, pinning the safety, doing those types of things. We actually recommended to her that she might just want to go along. She had a 357 Colt that she had, or had at home, I should say, and that she might want to shoot that, even though it's only got 6 rounds in it. She could shoot it. She said she shot it very well. And again, with her grip from shotgun shooting days, you don't need to have a death grip on a pistol. You don't have to have death grip on a shotgun. But you do have to have that when it comes to guns that have a grip safety to it.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's odd, because I was just showing my EZ, and that thing, that grip safety deactivates extremely easy.
I will say that as far as grip safeties go, the EZ is probably the best one for the most. I shouldn't say the best, the most forgiving of all the grip safeties I've ever been around.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as you get any part of it engaged, it's probably going to disengage the grip safety.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I agree that I've had shooters on the range too that the very reason why they bought the gun also worked against them when it came to the firing grip, and to try and position their hand in such a way, we basically had to find that sweet spot. And I had to tell her, look, you can only hold the gun in this way, and you're going to have to do a lot of dry fire practice to get your hand, your muscle memory, your hand right here, because it's the only position where you can both deactivate the grip safety and reach the trigger at the same time. Because you have to choose either or.
I wonder if the Talon grips, if you put Talon grip on her, because they have just the sheet stuff that you can put on there, cut that and wrap it and hold that grip safety in.
The only thing is, and I'm going to just throw this one out, and of course we're not giving advice, good or bad. People can do what they want to with their own guns, but if it's a self-defense gun and you've done any modification that deactivates a safety feature, you will have to answer for that in court against a prosecutor if you ever find yourself facing a prosecutor for defending your own life. So I mean, we can say what we want to, but just keep that in mind out there, kids, that if you deactivate a safety on your gun, or you pin it or tape it or whatever, then you have to explain why you decided you knew more than the factory about what was safe.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be a good idea either if you have the one that doesn't have the thumb safety, because if you don't have the thumb safety on it, that is the only safety. So you're not going to have a drop safety or anything if you tape that or pin that grip safety down on the EZ.
Yeah, 100% agree, and a couple things come up with that. One, let's do the last one. All right, you have to articulate why you deactivated a safety. Well, if it's because I couldn't use the gun otherwise, there's that. So, I mean, having to explain it doesn't mean you can't explain it. The other thing is important when you get these guns, because I recommended the Easy immediately when it came out, because I ran into a student that had a grip strength problem too, and it was perfect for them because everybody is not a 20-year-old male that are trying to defend themselves with a handgun. It's important that whatever gun you get, that you shoot. You need to shoot it in more than a magazine, more than just on your best day. Maybe you need to take a training class with it. That way you're shooting someone else's protocol on someone else's timetable. So now you're kind of not in your comfort zone. You're not in the square zone, square range, 1 round per second NRA thing. Maybe you need to shoot it with that offhand. I took one of the law enforcement carry classes where they had us soak our hand in an igloo cooler full of ice. And then run the guns where your hand's cold and a little bit numb and totally wet. And it's just one of those things that took you out of your comfort zone, but is important, because the last thing you want to figure out is that you can't grip that gun a certain way, or just the bunch of problems that we all know you can run into when you're doing everything with a firearm, including the self-defense ammo you're using. Don't assume because everybody uses it and you watch the jail test that are running your gun. Might not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
I
you watch,
agree with you, Tony.
Yeah, Christmas 740, he got the G3C tactical, and he did a video today on that where he was at the range and he was shooting some of the herders ammo, and there were 2 rounds where they didn't go off when he pulled the trigger. Like primer strike, everything else ran fine through it.
Definitely. I actually had a box of herders that jammed every gun I used them in. Now, the guy sold them to me. He was like, dude, this has messed up every one of my guns. I'm like, come on, dude. It's 9mm steel case. How bad could it be? Jam my CZ75 up till they had to actually disassemble it at the range to get the slide back and get the round out. And then it did the same thing to my Glock 19. And I had them both at the range, and the guy was like, I've taken both your guns apart today. What are you using? I was like, this? He was like, throw that in the garbage.
Yeah, right.
I was about to say, I've shot quite a bit of it already, but I think I bought 1,000 rounds of herders here a while back when Cabela's had it on sale. But this is brass case, though, not steel. So
yeah, that's what he was shooting. He was shooting the brass case.
I haven't had a lick of trouble with it. But, I mean, I'm not saying that there couldn't have been a bad lot out there at some point, or maybe I got the only good lot. I don't know, but I haven't had a problem.
Test it is what it comes down to. Go to the range, test it, make sure you know how it's going to work in your gun.
Yep. And you know what? There's something to be said for faulty ammo, especially if it's bad primers, and you're not getting you're not jamming your gun up or anything like that. It just doesn't it just misfires. I mean, yeah, it's expensive malfunction practice, but you get really good at the slap, rack, and roll drill, right? So
yeah, there's that. I guess you get a lot of practice clearing the weapon.
A lot of practice clearing the misfires. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yep. Had it happened 6 times on the first stage I ran last Friday. I was like, 1, 2, what? 1. So my first, it was 93 seconds. Everyone else ran it in like 20. Mine was 93 seconds the first run.
Oh man!
But you finished.
Oh yeah,
it didn't show a no time or a DNF, so you're good.
Exactly, and to me, running that, I am not there to compete and become the next Jerry Mischling, but I do want to run under pressure. I want to run under a stressor. It's not the stressor of combat, but it's a stressor.
Right. Defense Dad's got jokes out there. He only buys German guns. What's a malfunction?
Oh, don't think that German guns won't malfunction. I've had it happen.
So, John, getting back to the other part of your question, guns that I don't like. The one thing that really frustrates me are molded sights that are on your pistol that you can't change. You can't drift. You can't do anything else like that. Mm-hmm. I've got a Colt 1991 that has those. And one thing that makes me very frustrated with that is with my aging eyes. if I don't have direct light on those sights, I can't see them. So I've defaulted to go along and painting the sights on there. Now I can see it perfectly fine at that point, but I just could not see them if they did not have good light on them. I've had the same kind of problems in classes with Jenner pistols that have molded, as well as high point pistols too. In fact, you go along as new shooters, you're always, tell them to put the sights on target and then go along and have a nice, smooth trigger pull for it. And this high point was always shooting high left, and went along and coached him. Finally said, okay, let me try to shoot it. And guess what? It was shooting high left. The sights were molded into it, so there wasn't anything you could do to adjust it besides doing some Kentucky windage and say, okay, if you want to hit the whatever target is, you got to shoot low right in order to hit dead center. And they were all right after that, but I also got very not very happy with sights that can't move or can't go along, at least change.
Right, especially if you've already ruled out operator error, then yeah, for sure. I mean, anybody who's been around the range for any amount of time at all is aware of the shooting low left issue. Is, of course, 99 out of 100 times it's the shooter, not the firearm. But sometimes it's the gun. Sometimes it really is. And if multiple people consistently have the same outcome, then yeah, I mean that's fine. But those of us that have been at the range with people, whether you're an instructor or not, if you've taken somebody shooting, you've had the experience where somebody's like, well, my sights are off, I can't hit anything, we need to adjust them, and you grab the gun and put 3 in the 10 ring, and you're like, no, it's fine, we just need to work on your grip or something. So
well, can I put a free piece of advice out there for anybody who's thinking about going along and doing a qualification course? Don't change your sights the night before, because one of the problems I had was did an instructor course and had an instructor that was shooting a great grouping about 4 inches to the left, and again went along like, okay, are you milking the trigger, or too much finger, too little trigger, those types of things. And after all this coaching, he still couldn't hit the center of the target, but he was grouping it great, 4 inches to the left of the of the bullseye. Finally, I looked at the pistol, looked down at it, and it's like, well, these aren't Glock's factory sights. And I noticed that the rear sight was drifted over to the left quite a bit. So I asked him, like, well, when did you put these sights on? Oh, I put them on last night because I wanted to shoot better today. And it's like, you don't put them on the night before you're going to go along and do a qualification shoot.
Oh,
and that was the entire problem. I mean, the gun shot fine.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's very customary to mount your scope the night before you go out and hunt deer the next morning without ever shooting it. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand where you're coming from.
I bore-sighted it. It was fun.
It's free advice. It's free advice for those that out there need qualification sometimes.
I know a guy that put a red dot on something and then went and competed with it the next day. I mean, had to zero it at the event, but come on.
I think the key is that at least it got zeroed.
I had something similar to what you were just talking about, Tony. When I was in high school, I was on the marksmanship team in junior RTC, and somehow the rear sight on my air rifle got all screwed to hell. So I had to I'm sitting there on the line trying to zero this rifle again as they're counting down to starting the fire for the competition. Oh, that was not fun.
Oh, not at all. As I'm there with a multi-tool, like click, 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 pop. Oh yeah. So awesome. Everybody does it. I mean, that's one of the good things about being an idiot and then you become an instructor. Pretty much people can't really surprise you with the stupid things they do because you've done them already. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to make fun of you, dude, because I've done this.
I've had some surprises that even shocked me in my early days. Do we have time for me to get into some of those, John?
You know what? We've got time, and I was just going to throw out there. I thought I was an idiot until I became an instructor. And,
okay, that's true too. Yeah.
Apparently, yeah. I now I feel pretty darn good about myself some days. So no, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, I got two stories for you. Both of them you'll bury your head because it's like, no, tell me no. I had a guy one time go along again. We're doing the NRA pistol qualification where the guys shoot, and I'm watching the line, and I'm noticing this guy's going bang bang, rack, bang bang, rack, bang, rack, rack, and it's like, well, wait a minute. NRA protocol is you're supposed to give 30 seconds to make sure that it's not a misfire and do everything. And so I go along. It's like, okay, what's going on here? Like, don't worry. I know what's going on. It's like, no, enlighten me, because you're not following the protocol that we taught you in class. Well, I work at this gun range, and they always go along and they have this quality control section where, if it doesn't meet certain weights and such, it gets pushed off to the side. Well, I know this ammo is still good, so I brought some of it along with me, for class because it's cheap. I got him some new ammo for it because he was jacking out was maybe rounds that had bad primers or no powder or something else like that, but I had no idea if he had any rounds that were going to be overcharged also. And it was just one of those things where it's like, dudes, no. But the second story, and this is one that will go along and shock the hell out of you. I go along, and again, qualification a couple years later, guys shooting, bang, bang, everybody's doing good and such. And then this guy is, shoots and then, waits the 30 seconds and then racks it, but his gun won't go back into battery. So I'm going to go down and find out what's all going on. Well, I look at his gun, and his whole action on his pistol is full of powder. And there is this broken bullet, brass case, powder in there that was preventing everything from going into battery. It's like, what in the heck is going on here? And he's like, I don't know what's going on here. Well, after a little more investigation, found out this was the guy from another gun shop where they do reloading, and he thought he would go along and get the 5-finger discount. So in the reloading area, you've got the rounds that are loaded up, or that are prepped, that are loaded, and then they finally get crimped and packaged up. Well, he was taking the stuff that was uncrimped, but the bullet were pushed into the cases. So enough to go along loaded, everything to be good. But as soon as you start firing, all that vibration started bouncing those bullets out of the cases. And every time a new round went into there, and he tried to fix it, it just spewed powder all over the place. And it's no, we are not going to do that. That is dangerous, because something would have went off, or any kind of spark in that action, and I have no idea what in the heck would have happened to that gun, but it would have been very bad for it. And those are two, like I said, that you just bury your head. It's like, yeah. Okay, tell me you know better than this. I mean,
yeah, that, you know what? You're right. Maybe I just need to teach more classes to meet more. What was it? You can't make something idiot proof because they keep making new idiots every day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, I was in a class, and somebody did a New York reload and didn't bother telling the instructor they had a second firearm on the line.
Oh no!
Pow pow pow, pow pow pow, pow pow pow, click. Pow pow pow.
Oh man!
I was supposed to change magazines and not change guns. Sorry about that.
Chucked the old gun on the ground. Drew punched out the new gun and continued the string of fire. I'm not naming anybody because they might have told a story and they might have named it. I'm taking no risks, but it was funny. At the same time, it was like, you should know better. You've never done that. You've got military experience. You've never in the military pulled out a second gun and opened fire and didn't tell the instructor nothing. It's not like you went to your secondary that was on your hip. You got your backup gun out on the line as a reload. And hey, listen, I like the person, I respect the person, but it was like, what were you thinking? Like how did, without telling the instructor?
Yeah.
It was amazing. I was glad I was there for that one.
Yeah, like an old sergeant I used to say, as much as you make things idiot proof, they just make a better idiot.
All the time.
Yep.
Always upgrading idiots.
Yep, and that's true of everything. Gosh, we don't have. Well, I'm not going to take the time, but those of you that don't know, I sell cell phones for my day job, and yeah, I've got some stories there too of just you think these smartphones they've made them pretty simple, but not always, not always. So, and I'm sure that no matter what you do in your day job, you run into that kind of stuff, with the possible exception of Pat, who is self-employed and works mostly by himself, or at least with only one or two people. So every time Pat makes something idiot-proof, it's usually his brother that comes along and is the idiot that makes a better idiot, right? So
That's happened more than once.
we'll throw him under the bus tonight.
I thought it was that tweaker you told us stole your truck that time, Pat.
Oh, well, yeah, that was probably the biggest idiot I've ran into in probably the last 10 years, probably.
All right.
Okay, that's a story for a different time.
So I before we run out of time here, I want to get this one out into the room, because I would love to find out that everything is not as bad as it looks, because it looks bad. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but I can't remember if it was still on the air or if it was after the fact. I'm going to go off on a company, and if you're in Illinois or near Illinois, then you're probably aware of what happened a couple years ago, when how many mom and pop FFLs got shut down in that state. And to make a short story long, no, we'll make a long story short. What happened was there was a law that was proposed that Springfield Armory and Rock River Arms were kind of involved with the lobbyist that was opposing this bill. And what it amounted to, it was going to create a whole bunch of extra hoops for FFLs to jump through, and the cost involved with compliance was going to put the little shops out of business. And the lobbyist that was working on behalf of apparently multiple entities, but Springfield Armory and Rock River Arms were, I think, complicit in this, unless somebody has some proof to show me that I'm wrong. And I'll tell you later why I want to be wrong. But they said no, we oppose this bill, and so a carve out was proposed, an amendment to the bill that would carve out manufacturers, and which would take them off the hook, and they wouldn't have to comply then, because they're manufacturers, not just dealers. And so the lobby said, well, yeah, we'll go neutral if you carve out that. And so that happened, and they said they were banking on the fact that the governor would not sign the bill, and that's true, because the bill did pass without that opposition, and the governor didn't sign it. But it was a lame duck governor, and when the next governor came in, he pulled that out of it must have been a pocket veto. The next governor pulled it out, the way I understand, signed it into law, and it's now the law in Illinois. And so a lot of those little guys got put out of business. It looks bad. The lobbyist headquarters is in Springfield's headquarters. And again, if anybody has better info than I've been able to find, I would love to find out I'm wrong, because the guns themselves, I've not found anything wrong other than, well, okay, so this is a two-part beef. The biggest thing is this, they disavowed all knowledge of what their lobbyist was doing. The dude's office is in your HQ, and it's one of two things is true. Either they had no knowledge, in which case they're freaking incompetent, or they had full knowledge, in which case they're dishonest and devious. I don't see a third direction. It's one or the other, and both of them are bad. And then the other thing that I just can't stand about them is what they've done with HS product, and bringing what they call their XD series to American shores, and they just let people think for the longest time that they built that gun. A lot of people today still believe that Springfield builds those guns, and that HS product is not making them over in Croatia, which, I mean, once you get one, if you can read, then it's made in Croatia. It says so right on it, right? But a lot of people don't realize that. and they just see the Springfield Armory logo stamped on the top of the slide. Oh, this is good stuff. It's Springfield Armory's been making guns since George Washington was a general. And not the same company, but not a lot of people realize that either. So I think that they haven't been dishonest. I guess blatantly disingenuous, but I think it is disingenuous to let people believe things that aren't true. And they don't do a very good job of separating themselves from some of the nonsense. So I don't really like their business model when it comes to that. But the stuff that they build, it seems solid as heck. And I want to like their stuff. I'm not going to support that company. If you ever see me with a Springfield Armory product, you can rest assured that I bought it used or it was a gift, and they didn't get my money. But again, if anybody can set my record straight, I would love to be corrected if anybody has better info than I've got.
No, I can't correct you, but you did leave one part out. The lobby guy's business card, the phone number on it went directly to Springfield switchboard. He didn't even have his own phone number. It was when you called the number that was on his business card, you got one of their operators.
Right. Why would he have a separate phone number? They just transfer it right.
Well, he could have had his own extension or something on it. He didn't even have an extension. It just went right to their call center.
Gotcha. Okay. That part I didn't realize, but yeah. Now Blitz is out there, and first he said I'm going to trigger him. Blitz lives in Illinois, and he says he had 4 mom and pop shops in his town. Now there's none in his town, and he does love going. Oh, he loves going to some of the few mom and pops that are still open when the Springfield reps come into their shop for a day. He apparently Blitz. Can you expound on that a little bit? I want to know how much fun you have and what do you do? Do you make their life hell or are you nice? I kind of want to know now.
He probably sits there eating popcorn.
Well, I mean, but how many people know about all this? Because
well, I'm sure the dealer in Illinois does. He lives in Illinois.
But not many people know about it. Yeah, not many people know about this. When we had discussion,
it's hard to find the info.
When we had the discussion last week, I brought it up that the story is supposedly true. That the guy was not a Second Amendment, the lawyer, their counselor, was not a Second Amendment dude. He was somebody who was used to making slick deals between parties and thought this was a great idea because it got Springfield and Rock River what they wanted. And he came and presented it, and they said no to it. That's the story. And they said they were going to have that story told because the people I know that told me the side of the story are people that have worked with Springfield Armory as sponsored people. And they were like, look, you can either believe me or not. It was really honest and truly what they said it was. But he said where they fell apart is they didn't come out immediately and tell everybody, which they did not. There was like silence because it happened during NRA. It happened during the NRA annual meeting. And I still remember it because I think it came out on like a Thursday. I think it started on a Thursday, and it was just weirdly quiet around Springfield's booth. Like people weren't going in it like they were the day before. And I think, maybe it came out on a Friday because Saturday it was like no one wanted to go in that booth. Like it was just, everybody knew. It was like, you guys did some dirt. And supposedly the owners told them not to say anything at the booth and they would explain it all. And they made some 15-minute video that looked like a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie. It was just filmed and it was just, I thought it was garbage. It's like, dude, say you messed up. Say you messed up and you hired a new guy and he screwed it up and you didn't take the deal.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was 2027, right? I mean, 2017, right?
Yeah, 2017. But at the 2020 Great American Outdoor Show, Springfield was there, and there was like a bubble around their booth. There was very few people were going to the Springfield booth. This year, back in February, they weren't even there.
They weren't even there because I was there. I was there in 2020, and I was like, all right, I'll go in their booth and deal with them. And I don't know if I walked in with an attitude and just didn't want to, it was just, I turned around and walked out. I turned around and walked out of their booth in disgust. So if you see me with a Springfield Armory, anything, I got
You've
to
been
use.
kidnapped? Is it
No,
this?
I've got to use. Remember, I'm tactically thrifty.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
not mess
I,
around.
I thought you were going to say you're under duress and somebody's forcing you to carry it.
You
You know,
can-
like
you
if
can-
you see me with a Starbucks, you know.
Oh no, you see me with a Starbucks. I got it for free.
For those of you that are new to the game and don't know what we mean when we say that, when you buy the brand new gun, then you're supporting the company directly because that dealer bought that either directly from Springfield or they bought it from a distributor. But the money ultimately goes back to Springfield Armory. Just like if you buy a brand new, Chevy, then the money goes from that dealer directly back to General Motors, or maybe it's in the reverse order, but you're reimbursing that dealer for the money they gave to General Motors for that vehicle. But if you buy, a used Buick, GM doesn't get that money the second go around. That money stops right there at the dealer that sold the Buick to you, right? And so it's the same thing with used guns. If you buy the Springfield Armory used, then that money stays with Academy or Shields or Billy Bob's Guns and Bait or whatever the shop is. The money stops right there and it stays put. It doesn't support the company because it was the second hand. So that's exactly why like I said, I don't see a ton of Springfields in the used counter anywhere I look that aren't XDs. I see a lot of XDs in there. But other than that, and I don't know how hard those are to shoot. The only one I've ever shot was the little single stack, the XDS, and it was in 45, and it was the Gen 1 with that waffle iron grip. And I wouldn't want to shoot that thing very much. I was glad it was a 45 and not a 40. I'll say that much because I don't have the marks in my hand anymore, but it left an impression in my hand for a good hour after that. Yeah, I know that they've brought out the Gen 2 and it's got the better grip on it, and it probably doesn't dimple your hand up like that. But anyway, those are not Springfield products. They put their logo on it. It's made in Croatia. I'm not saying it's junk. The Hellcat seems to be a pretty solid gun. I've shot them. I've had students that had them, and I've shot the gun, and it shoots. It's a little 9mm, but if you can shoot little 9s, then it shoots really good. It's not a bad gun. And the only thing is, I watch a lot of Outdoor Channel, which I'm pretty sure is owned by the parent company of Guns and Ammo. And if you ever watch Outdoor Channel or you just thumb through a Guns and Ammo magazine, their number one sponsor is Springfield. I mean, every other page is another Springfield ad. Every other commercial break is another Springfield ad on TV. They spend a lot of money to tell you how good they are, whereas most of the other companies let their product do the work for them. And I think that says a little bit too. So there's that. Springfield and Kimber do an awful lot of advertising to sell their guns. That much I do know. But yeah, that debacle with the legislation there in Illinois, I cannot support a company that, again, they either are that underhanded and greedy and are wanting to, I guess they if it's true, then they would see the little guys as some sort of competition, which I don't understand how they could even think that. And if the other thing, like what Tony said is true, then, that's just gross incompetence. I mean, and again, do you want to support the company that's run by idiots and morons? If you want to do that, just pay your taxes. And that's already happening. You're supporting the business that's run by idiots and morons. So Justin Grimm says, don't forget Rock River Arms was the other half. Yes, we mentioned that. It is not just Springfield. It is Springfield and Rock River that were working hand in hand on that, or he was representing them anyway. So Blitz did answer my question. I wanted to know what he does when he goes to those gun stores. He likes giving them some heat. He realizes the rep isn't the admin. He lets them know their company's not forgiven until they put as much money into voiding the FOID card. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see these companies not take out as many ads, spend some of that money actually fighting for the rights of those of us who want to spend our money on their products. And I would just 100%, if they would change their ways and start fighting for our rights as much as they start fighting for their market share, then I can't see any company that would give them any competition. I mean, they'd just be I would think they'd be the top of the heap, but maybe I'm wrong. I always complain about how few people are actually in the fight for their rights, so maybe there's not as much would come of that as what I would think there would be. But the companies that are willing to actually put money into fighting for the rights of people to keep and bear arms, those are the companies that I want my money to go to.
Yeah, I've learned a lot doing 2A advocacy in Jersey, grassroots, my money, the donations people give me. I'll tell you right now, High Point is 100% behind grassroots 2A advocacy. Say what they want. High Point has helped me out. I had nothing to offer. It's not like I'd just gotten started in 2015. I told them what I was doing. They immediately helped me out. No questions asked. Henry, that was phone calls made. And when they finally realized I was in the state and I actually met the right person, they helped me out. Tony, the owner of Henry, real 2A advocate. So yeah, those are companies, smaller businesses that help me out, like a G, what's it? A G is AEGIS, right? How to say that? Yeah,
Aegis Gun Care. Is that...
Gun Care, Aegis Gun Care. I could not. It was not clicking with me. I'm spelling the word and I can't say it. 100% behind me. I actually have a bunch of their stuff that we're going to be have at the next diversity shoot as raffle items because he sent it to us to help us fund what we do. Exactly. Awesome dude. So yeah, there are companies out there that support. So when I hear the excuses, well, those larger companies have shareholders and they can't be advocates. Bull crap. Bull crap. They can tell you that. How's this? Shareholders can get stomped because if they pass laws and only military contracts go through, guess who's going out of business? Those companies, because they depend on civilian firearms ownership to make their money. Sorry, but your law enforcement agencies buy one gun every 2 decades. How many times have your PD changed the handguns they bought? It's like, no, you have one handgun contract. And then maybe 20 years later, there's another one. This many companies that we have out here right now, just AR companies alone, how many would disappear if they pass something, assault weapons ban, and you could only sell law enforcement?
Yep.
There will only be Smith & Wesson and I was going to say Colt, but anyway, Smith & Wesson. That would be it. So no, yeah, dude, these people need to start fighting for the right.
That's very true. And I tell you what, if anybody out there ever figures out a way to light a fire under average Joe out there, not Sleepy Joe in the White House, but average Joe, John Q. Public, you guys figure out a way to light a fire and get them off their butts and actually help protect the rights that they think it's somebody else's job to protect, then let me know what the secret is. I'm about to go down to Omaha here Saturday. Nebraska Firearm Owners Association annual member meeting is this Saturday, the 10th. And I don't know what the turnout's going to be. We've got a good draw. We've got Ed Monk coming in to give his seminar on active shooters. And he's doing one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And in between the two, we've got lunch and our actual board meeting that's open to the membership. So I really want to. I hope we're going to have a good turnout, but we're going to have at the most probably 100 people show up out of the 1.5 million or almost 2 million that live in Nebraska. And out of those 1.8 million roughly that we have here in the state, we've got somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 members, depending on which email server we're counting them from. And And so, yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. And if I could get 200 of those 6 to 8,000 consistently to make phone calls and send emails, I guarantee there wouldn't be a bad gun law in this state. We'd be right up there in the top 5 of NRA's list every year instead of, 36 out of 50 is usually where we come in consistently. So yeah, I've got a bone to pick with a lot of my fellow Nebraskans who just don't care, and that's all it comes down to. They've got enough to worry about, I guess. They just don't care. It's the average American's viewpoint. I don't care if I don't think about it. It's all going to go away. And I can't help but think there may be a lot of people in Germany back in the late 30s that were kind of in the same boat. I just don't care if I just ignore it and go to work and go home and kiss my wife and eat some supper. It's all gonna blow over. It's all gonna go away. I'm gonna let other people worry about it. And 5 years later, everything is completely, and heaven forbid they were Jewish. Everything changed, right? So can we afford to not care? Can anybody afford to not care?
It's complacency, because it's not impacting me right now. I'm a shotgun and rifle shooter, and I don't have an assault weapon, so it's not my problem. But at the same time, they don't take a step back and say, wait a minute, as soon as they start, outlawing the nasty looking AR-15s that, by the way, are semi-automatic, just like your shotguns, just like your 10-22s and different things like that. Until it really hits them at home, they don't care about it. And that's the one thing where I echo your opinions too, John. I'm talking to people all the time about getting out and being active and getting your voice. You don't have to go marching down the street all the time, but call your legislatures, go along and make sure the politicians know who you are and what you stand for. Be intelligent about how you approach them, and make sure they understand where you stand, because they're the ones that are engaged are the ones that get the most attention from politicians.
Well, and don't assume that your local elected representatives know how you feel. Don't assume that your neighbors have told them already, and that you don't have to. That's just the same as assuming that you don't need to go vote because all your neighbors are going to go vote. And they're going to vote for the candidate that you wanted. Well, it doesn't work that way. Look at Virginia a few years ago. Look at Georgia right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume these things. And that's, I don't know how greater Ohio is. I know that Ohio, like most states, a big chunk of it's rural, just like mine. You get outside of Omaha and Lincoln, and it's a pretty rural state here in Nebraska, and the thing that I run into the most is it's a combination of ignorance and apathy. And I'm not just talking about the not willing to make a phone call. I'm talking about, who cares if they pass an assault weapons ban? These guys that have an SKS rifle or maybe an AR, because that is becoming more popular now with the next generation. But, even if they outlaw the thing, I'm so far out in the sticks that who's ever going to catch me with it? Who's ever going to know I've got it? I'm not giving mine up. They're not going to come here and take it, and I'm still going to be able to hunt coyotes or whatever, and nobody's going to question it. And so why should I care if they ban the thing? Even though I've got one, I'm not worried. It's kind of like we don't have permitless carry here, but how many pickups in the western part of my state have a 22 pistol under the seat or in the glove box? It's not legal to do so, but how many people do it, and how many people don't even remember that it's there? If they would ever get pulled over and get their vehicles searched, they'd be in big trouble. But it's just a way of life, and it's kind of like the way it used to be, 50 years ago when Dad would have a few drinks with his buddies and then drive home, and people would look the other way. Even if he got pulled over and he had some beer on his breath, the cop said, as long as you get home safe, have a good night. And that's changing. You get in trouble for that stuff now. You're going to get in trouble for gun stuff now faster, right? Because most police aren't, for liability alone, they're not going to look the other way. So they're going to have to bust you. And that's just what it comes down to is, most of these people don't care, because even if it affects them, it really isn't going to affect them. Not until it's too late.
That was one of the reasons I enjoyed when Joe Biden started screaming, no one, it's disgusting in America about semi-automatic weapons, and I'm going to shut down all semi-automatic weapons, because to me it was like, okay, now finally, the people you're talking about, their ox is getting gored. This might wake them the frick up. He didn't say AR-15. He didn't say fully automatic. He said all semi-automatic firearms, and that to me was one of those, hell yes, we're coming for your AR-15s, we're coming for your AK-47s, and I'm like, yes, because this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the overreach legislation that wakes up the people that think like you just said, John. It finally goes, oh, he means me. Yeah, booby. They mean everything that's over 50 cal, including your friggin' 12 gauge, bro.
Yeah, don't
Like,
kid yourself and think that he doesn't want what you have too.
yep.
Yeah,
And
right.
and that's what has to happen for these a-holes to wake up. And if you think, oh my goodness, Tony just called me an a-hole because I'm a gun owner and I'm not fighting for my Second Amendment right. Yes, I did. Tony at diversityshoot.com said it. And if you don't like it, shoot me an email. That way I know who you are and I can name you when I curse you out next time.
Yeah, Biden on Thanksgiving Day of all days said that everybody owning semi-automatic firearms is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I am.
sickening.
I am a little bit because I can never get enough. I'm addicted.
They're like Pringles.
Oh, dude. And Jersey, you got to get a pistol purchase permit. And it takes months. And you can get as many as, I think, 9. Like, because you can only get one gun a month, and then you can extend it so you can get another 6, and then maybe. And I tell people when they're getting their first gun, get 3 permits. Oh, I only want 1 handgun. I'm not going to get 3 handguns. Get 3 handgun permits. No. Okay. Boom. Swear, if they actually shoot, they get the gun, they take it out, and they're like, oh, this is fun. So I was trying to get another one. And do I have to go through the same permitting process? Yes, you do. You have to start all over again. Man, I guess you're right. I should have got. Yes, I know. It's like once you get that first one and you start shooting, you either like that Glock, whatever, that you want to get the bigger Glock, you want to get another Glock, or you want to get a 22 now because 9mm is more expensive than you thought. You want a training gun. It's like it's once you get into it, it can become expensive.
Listen to Tony. That's great advice.
Okay, so before we wrap it up, I do want you guys to sound off on this. G-Webs out there says we don't need everyone on board to win our rights back again. We just need 1% of the folks. We got some now. In his opinion, focus on those who are on board and doing is better than focus on those not active. And, G, I think I understand what you're saying. Respectfully, I want to disagree a little bit. I don't know if I want to disagree. I just want to expand on that a little because we do need to focus on the people who are on board, encourage them. You know, the seed's planted, let's water it, right? Let's help it grow. But at the same time, those people eventually will be gone, just like eventually will be gone. And how do we replace ourselves, right? We need to be a renewable resource in this fight. So we need to constantly cultivate and grow more and more people to take the place of the ones that we lose, and we want this to be a movement, right? We want it to grow legs and spread from coast to coast. And so we do need to focus on the people who are already with us, but at the same time, we need more people to be with us always. That's no different than saying, well, you know, let's focus on the rights that we already have. Okay, fine, but I'm still going to direct a huge portion of my attention to the rights that we no longer have, right? We need to win those back, just like we need to win those people back or win them over or whatever. Both are equally important, I think. So
I think one thing to keep in mind too, John, is when you take the average American that's out there, where do they get their information from? The news, politicians, movies, things along those lines. But one thing from the 2A movement that we've got to make sure that we're doing and doing it well is educating people, educating them about how firearms really do work. 9mm is not going to blow your lungs out. To go along and make sure they realize AR-15, that's Armalite rifle, not assault rifle. That's what they have. And, the history behind the Second Amendment, why it was originally passed, to prevent tyranny. And, when you go along and look at it, does anybody worry about the honest American, what they do every day, what they own, or what they're doing? No, nobody worries about it. The part of the population that we're worried about, concerned, is that criminal element. And that's the part to where I think from a political standpoint, people aren't pushing their politicians hard enough to say, okay, don't pass new laws that are going to restrict us. Go along and enforce the laws you currently have. I mean, let's put it this way, since day one of our country, it's been illegal to murder people. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you do it with a gun, a knife, a horse, or a car. It's still illegal. Why do we need to go along and pass 100 different versions of what is wrong? It still doesn't fix the problem. You need to go along, get those people, lock them up, get them help, whatever the situation is. But going along, making it harder for law-abiding citizens to live their lives freely,
right,
is not going to create criminal, or not going to correct the criminal problem that we have in this country.
Well, go ahead, Tony.
Two things. One, G-Web is right. I'm not concentrating, and we've had this, G-Webs and I have had this conversation. I don't concentrate on the people that aren't in a fight. I definitely want the people that are. But when something happens like what happened on Thanksgiving Day, and he has one of those, hell yes moments, yes, this is what's happening to you all. It's time to wake up. And that usually motivates a bunch of people to wake up when they realize the president's talking about the gun they have. So that's what those moments, I think we should capitalize upon them. And when, hey, they said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
I think we should really jump on that immediately as 2A activists, as content creators, and point out it was not a misspeak. This was intentional. Movement of the Overton window, they said what they really wanted to say. The other thing is, when it comes to enforcing the laws that are already out there, I don't agree with that anyway. I push back against that 100% because I live in one of the states with some of the more egregious gun laws, and I don't want to live with these. So I don't find holding the line here acceptable at all. I want it all pushed back. I want to fight not to maintain where we are, because that's not really a defense. I want to push back against it because I want more than 10-round magazines. I don't want a limit. I don't want to wait for months for permission from the state to get my gun. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the rules that we live under right now in this state, because other states are like Oregon just became New Jersey overnight, and they see what happens now when 114 passed. I'm like, yeah, that's what we live with. That's what we've been living with. And no. So
Yeah,
no,
good,
push it
good
back.
points, Tony. I'll amend my statement to include what you said. So Ohio, we're a little bit freer, permitless carry and those types of things.
Dude, I look at places like that and I'm like,
Come on down. Come on down.
Yeah, come on over, Tony. West Virginia, welcome you.
Nope. Somebody's got to fight the fight, and I'm here to fight the fight until I quit, and then I'm gone. I'm
I
gone.
didn't
When
say,
I'm gone, I'm
I
gone.
didn't say you had to move. Just come and visit sometime.
But when I'm gone, I'm gone. But I'm going to try to fund the fight from wherever I'm at. But it's like, yeah, dude, we all need to fight.
So G's still got some more comments out there. In his experience, we don't lose lifelong 2A activists anywhere here as much as we lose people who are just mad at the moment and quit fighting as soon as their issue has left the news cycle. And he wants to know what would be better, keeping all the past 2A activists that have been but left, or winning new people over but only keeping them for a few fights. And I know this is kind of a non-answer, G, but why would we want to pick? Why would I want to choose between one or the other when I honestly believe that both would be an acceptable goal? Let me have the people who are pissed off and will do some good and will actually get off their butts right now because they're mad, and send that email off, make those phone calls, go to the rally or whatever, do a little protesting outside of, across the street from the red t-shirt moms. Yeah, give me those people, and then give me the people who have, been up the hill and over the mountain and been part of the fight for a long, long time and have done this, repeatedly, And yeah, maybe they got burned out. Maybe we can bring them back in and you know, help rekindle that fire. I want both. We need those those veterans to help these new people out too. And if you know, we lose half of the new people because their issue has been, you know, it's no longer a hot button, fine, but we're going to keep some of them. You know, let's turn some of those new ones that are mad into lifelong fighters. Let's bring back some of the lifelong fighters. Ultimately, I think both would be better if I had to pick. You know, was forced to choose. I don't know. It seems like there's plenty of hot buttons. Short term helps better than no help at all, and the people that were activists and left aren't any help at all. So I don't know. It's a great question. It's thought
I
provoking.
think it is really a good question. Having worked with at both ends, the people that have been in has seen it all. Either got disgusted, had other things in life that took place that they had to step away from the 2A activism, and then have them come in and know everything behind the scenes and know the personalities involved. And I mean, because it becomes a personality thing on the local level. Like, yeah, I was here and I helped elect this dude as president and he didn't do what I want of the 2A thing. So I don't want to have anything to do with him. I'm done with all these people. I'm taking my ball and going home. That could be some of the, senior people. And then it could be the new people to come in and they own their first gun and, they spent all the money and waited months and got 15-round magazines and then found out the state was going to 10 rounds. And those $35 to $50 mags you bought are now illegal, and you got to spend another $35 either get brand new 10 rounders or have those pinned. So now they're angry about the magazine issue. Who's better to have on your side? Whoever's bringing the most energy,
Yeah.
who's ever putting the most into it, whether they're the new activist or the senior activist. And yeah, I'd love to have both, but who's ever bringing the energy? Who's ever going to show up at the rallies? Who's ever going to go testify? Who's ever going to donate the
Mhm.
money or volunteer? I want that person that brings that energy. I don't care where along the curve they are. I just want them in the game.
I'm not saying that I want bad things to happen. I'm saying that encroachment upon our rights is inevitable. At this point, I mean, before we can derail this train, it's gonna go further down the tracks, right? I mean, they may not get everything banned that they want to ban, but there's gonna be more stuff banned. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, right? If anybody disagrees, let me know. But I mean, you know, I'm not saying it's a lost cause. I'm just saying that this is a long, you know, if we think, what is it, strategically instead of tactically, right? Tactical wins battles, strategy wins wars. So thinking strategically, we're going to lose a battle here and there, right? But if we want to win this war, ultimately, we have to recognize that fact. The silver lining to that cloud is when we lose some of that ground, when they ban this or that or the other, it does create more pissed off gun owners or magazine owners or what have you. So they do help create, even if they're short-term activists, they are helping create activists to speak out against what they're doing, right? And then yeah, every now and then we get that huge windfall where, you know, somebody will say the quiet part out loud, whether it's Joe or Beto or, you know, they can do spin control all they want and, you know, distance themselves and you know, they're already trying to paint Joe as a little incompetent now. They're pulling the rug out from under him, and most of the party pulled the rug out from Beto a long time ago. But I mean, yeah, we get those great sound bites, but it's up to us veterans to take that and use it, right? Don't waste it, don't squander it. Let's fire these people up, right? If that's what's going to work, then the other side's clearly really good at firing people up and getting them to become, even if it's short term. The left doesn't care who's a long-term activist or a short-term activist. It doesn't seem like to me they don't care as long as they're activisting at the time, right? Kind of what Tony just said, I think. I think that's what you meant when you said it.
Yeah.
Um, so let's harness whatever energy we can harness and use it to our advantage. You know, let's do a little legislative judo if we can, and take some of their momentum and use it against them. And yeah, let's see if we can win back some of this ground, right? But it's again, we're not going to win ground in Washington until we start winning ground in Trenton, in Lincoln, you know, in Columbus, wherever, or not even in the state capitals, you know, in your local city hall, or whatever, in your county commissioners meeting. You start winning ground there, and this will snowball from the bottom up. That's how grassroots works. But
we saw that
get,
with we saw it with Virginia. We saw it with Virginia after they swung, and obviously, again, being a Virginian, born and raised, I guess while I was gone, a whole bunch of people hit their head, and fell down the shower and hit their head, and became slightly slow. And they elected the last governor, and they realized what a mess it was. And then all of a sudden, the 2A sanctuary movement got big, and I was really happy when it hit my hometown where I'm coming from, and I saw all the people gather together turning my county into a 2A sanctuary county. And that barrel rolled into 2019. What is it, Lobby Day, when they had thousands of people show up, tens of thousands of people show up in Virginia from around the country. So I thought that was really great, and I'm sorry that happened in 2020, because I was actually at SHOT Show when that happened, and I was glad to be there at SHOT because I was speaking at SHOT, but I really wanted to be in my home state for something that awesome. So yeah, grassroots works, and it did take the energy of both new and old schooled activists to make it happen. So yeah, we got to take that energy and run with it. And I know what G's saying, because a lot of the guys that were in it before me, I've only been in this fight for 10 years. This is a generational fight. It's going to last forever. It's not going to end, because they've been infringing since before the National Firearms Act, 1930. I always get it wrong. 1934.
34. There was another one in 38. Then you had the Gun Control Act of 68.
68, yeah. So they've been doing this since before then. So this fight's going to be going long after you're gone, and your grandkids are going to be fighting it. But where are we leaving them is the important part. And the missed opportunity, and we're always going to miss opportunities. People are going to miss opportunities. You've missed them in your life. We're going to miss them in activism. But we try to limit the number of ones we do miss. And I think Joe, Beto, great opportunities for us to step up. And I think I've said this on everybody's show here. Now it's time for women and minorities to be stepped up and to be promoted by Second Amendment advocates, old ones. So the middle-aged white dude's going to have to take it and support the other organizations that are on the leading edge. They can't cancel as racist. They can't cancel, the Latino single mom and call her names, because she crushes them, and she is a part of their demographic that they're trying to appeal to. So they're going to have a hard time canceling these people, and that's who we have to support financially. That's how we have to have on the shows, and that's where we have to introduce others to, so we can bring them in to our local groups. Because but I've been part of. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you consider yourself a 2A activist, and you're not only supporting but promoting groups like Pink Pistols or DC Project, or anything that is not old white guys, then you're really missing the boat. Because that's exactly right. We've got to show the world that the average gun owner is anything but average, right? There is no such thing anymore as the average gun owner. It's not all old white guys in flannel with beards. It's everybody,
and we know this. And us people that go to the range know this, so I'm not dismissing you. Don't feel that I'm attacking you if you're a middle-aged white dude. Yeah.
We sometimes, I think, because here's the thing is, and I'm not, I know it's going to sound like I'm getting on a little bit of a soapbox, or I'm virtue signaling, and I'm not meaning to, but I don't go about my day thinking about what color somebody is, or who they love, or who they worship, or whatever. And so in my mind, that's not at the front of my mind. And I forget sometimes that that's important to other people, right? until all of a sudden I catch myself before I, say something completely stupid that if somebody doesn't know me is not going to give me a pass because I said it or whatever, and they're not going to see the humor or whatever, spirit in which it was given. But that's a big thing for a lot of people. And again, as a 2A advocate, I don't care who's helping out as long as they're helping, right? But I forget about that too, is not everybody feels like that. Not everybody understands that the average gun owner is anything but average anymore. And so that's something that I try to remind myself is public awareness is not what I think it is. It's what public awareness is, right? And I've got to know what that is. I've got to know what the public general idea of this, that, or the other is, so that I can help shape that and or combat it, whatever it is. I wanted to wrap this up at about the 2-hour mark. I know we're going to go over time, but DJ's out there and got some good stuff that he wants to say, and I want to get this up on the screen and just mention this. First of all, he says it's ironic. We're talking about gun rights, and it's being called a war. That turns off so many people. G-Webs had asked him in the chat what he, to clarify. He said, turns off those that might be interested in exploring the ideas and conversations happening here, that the gun people are talking about winning a war on their rights. And I understand what you're saying, DJ, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I want to address that and just say that we didn't ask for this war, but that's what it is. Okay?
Okay. I thought
we're
you
like
were
John Rambo
Rambo
in the first movie. If they would have just left us alone, there wouldn't have been a fight. But they started it, right? They made this a war. Make no mistake, kids, it's not a war where we're going to shoot bullets or missiles. Lord, please don't let it go to that far. This is a war in the legislative trenches right now, but it is a war. Don't make any mistake about it. And if we don't talk about it in terms that are get people out of their comfort zones, then I don't know how to talk about it. I can't just say, well, this is going to be, this is going to be a difficult effort, but we need all the help we can get for this difficult effort. I'm not going to get anybody to sign on. Who wants to fight a war? Come on.
Well, what are you going to call a fight that's been going on for nearly 90 years?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, unless your people had this before the white people, and then the fight's been going on for 150 years.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about, like, what do you call it? I mean, do we do like the Irish and call it the Troubles? I mean, yeah. What do we call this? It's 9 decades of this fight, and there will be 9 decades more behind us. I totally get it. Because wording is important, especially doing what I do when I'm in a room full of diverse people where there are different spots along this journey, from I'm sitting in this room because my daughter dragged me here and I still think all guns are bad, to my cold dead hands are all in the same room together. And it's like, how do I actually communicate with all of these people without alienating somebody? Well, we're gonna have to pull the bandage off and use big people words.
Yeah.
And this is a culture war because we're being attacked on every level.
Says that out there in the chat, he thinks that battle is better. No, we need to use both, because we need to win. We need to win every battle to win the war. We're not going to win every battle. We may lose some battles, but the war is far from over, right? So you've got to look at it in those terms. And again, this is not something I'm talking about literal bloodshed and bullets flying. I'm talking about the legislative battles that we need to win in order to win this war, which, yeah, it'll never be won, right? I mean, that's the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, right? Is that how that goes? We can never stop. It's just like the war for if you have a house with a lawn, the war for your lawn to keep the crabgrass out or the dandelions, right? It'll never stop. If you stop, the other side's going to take over. So we can never stop. Even if we gain some ground, we have to keep the pressure on to hold that ground. And so I'm talking again metaphorically and legislatively here, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to incite violence. I want to keep my channel, But at the same time, make no mistake, a war this is in the legal sense and in the sense of freedom. And if we don't fight this war where it belongs in the city halls and the state capitals and in the Congress, then it's eventually going to pop off into a full-scale actual war. And there's no excuse for that. We don't need to let it get that far. But that only works if people get off their ass and help us fight the legislative battles so that it doesn't go that far before people are stirred to finally get up and help. Because by the time that people are ready to actually load magazines and go to Washington, like what's his face said, it's too late, right? There's no winner then if that happens. So we need to win while we can, because if actual bullets get fired, nobody wins. We all lose, and maybe there's a country left to rebuild when it's all over. Maybe not.
And I agree. I agree that words can turn some people off, especially
Sure.
if you're only looking at the surface. Um, we're going to have a conversation. You can't just hear us saying there's a war for your Second Amendment rights, and you go, I don't like the fact that they use the term war, so I'm out. Well, then you weren't ready for this anyway.
Yeah,
You weren't ready for the conversation. You weren't ready for the movement. You weren't ready for the work. If you're not willing to have something more than I heard something that offends me, so I'm checking out immediately without some clarification of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes we do get caught up in our own echo chamber of talking, and we all know what we're talking about. And sometimes we do lose others, and we have to keep that in mind. But I cannot continually use baby speak because this is an actual fight. I mean, it's this is a fight. This is a war. It's not going to stop, and you have to take it seriously and treat it as such. These people are willing to take away your rights by any means necessary, lying, emotional manipulation, and everything else. And the only thing we have, because everything we do is get fact checked, and then we have to be right 100% of the time, because the minute you're caught lying as a pro 2A person, oh, well, obviously you're full of crap because everything's wrong. Look, I found this one study. It took me looking through 20 of them, but I found one that said you're wrong. And it's like, no, I'm telling the truth, and this is where you can find the truth I'm telling. Uh, Calling something an AR is an assault rifle is a lie. You can Google that and find it in 30 seconds. Why are you wasting my time? So yeah, we have to be careful with words we say because we sometimes get caught up in our echo chamber and we get passionate. But we also have to leave it open to go, yes, this is adult talk. We're going to use bad words. We're going to get angry, and we're going to tell you the truth.
And I don't care who you are, if you're in this for very long or very deep, somebody on our side is going to say something that you don't like. It's going to piss you off or hurt your feelings. And if you can't handle it, then you're no good to anybody. Learn how to deal with it. Learn how to get past the fact that 9mm is better than 40, and you're just going to have to deal with
Now, wait a minute now.
Sorry, that was a shot directly at G-Webs.
Whatever. 32 per carry for life.
Give me my 25 ACP all day long. Unless I want to hurt somebody, then never mind. All right. We could keep going all night, but we have to wrap this up. So, like I said, we've already gone longer than I wanted to, but I didn't want to leave that one hanging. G did have a good comment to it. It's a war of information and culture. They moved the Overton window while gun owners were sleeping. We're winning the new war of awareness. Proof is they are stealing gun safety as a new tactic, and yeah, that's there's something to be said there. So, all right, let's wrap this up, and we'll be on our merry way. If you like this kind of discussion and you like learning more about guns and 2A stuff, make sure I didn't mention this at the beginning, but make sure you go check out Self Defense Radio Network, SDRN.us. You can find this show along with a whole bunch of other really good ones out there, and just find all kinds of cool podcasts at SDRN.us. So go look at that. We're very proud to have been included there, and we're just going to go back around the horn here, give everybody a chance. Any final thoughts, and of course, shameless plugs where people can find you. So we'll start down here at the bottom left-hand corner on my screen with Rob. Final thoughts, and where can people find what you're doing?
Final thoughts is we preach to people, practice, practice, practice. But it also comes down to two-way activism. You have to be active, active, active. So, as much as you're exercising your trigger finger, make sure you're exercising your voice and making sure legislatures know. And for people that want to catch my podcast, you can catch me at firearmtrainerpodcast.com. And if you're interested in my training, you can hit me up at americandefensetraining.us and train around greater Cincinnati area and that region as a whole. So lots of classes coming for 2023.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight and
my pleasure.
All the stuff that you bring to the conversation and all the stuff that you're doing, both for the two-way and just training up safe, responsible, law-abiding, background check passing citizens. So we appreciate that. Pat, we'll move over to you for final thoughts, and where can people find what you're doing?
I just wanted to say thanks for having me on tonight. Definitely good conversation. You can find me at Pat in the Bunker on YouTube and Pat Hirsch on Facebook now. Been on there for just a little bit now. Hopefully more videos will start rolling out here shortly, looking on upgrading the internet to the bunker. So hopefully I will be able to upload a hell of a lot quicker instead of taking 2 days to upload a 5-minute video. And so hopefully that situation evolves here within the next couple of weeks.
Finally
I
going
want
to
to do one more
dial-up connection, huh?
And I'm a step above dial-up, but it's still not that great.
Been there.
What's that?
I said I've been there.
Yep. And I'm going to do one more quick love-hate since I wasn't on last week. I love the fact that Henry does not have that stupid safety on the top of their lever-action guns. The other lever guns, fine. Just go away. Stupid. Retarded. It's not a real lever gun. Go away. Go away. And thank you, Henry, for doing a side gate. We love it.
Well, that Kingsgate thing might have been a fad, so Henry held out for a while to make sure it was still going to be something people liked.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, Pat, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me on, and thanks to everybody on the panel tonight. It was a good conversation.
All right, Tony, final thoughts, and again, where can people find what you're doing?
You can find what I'm doing at diversityshoot.com. You can also listen to our podcast, the 2A4E podcast, at your favorite podcast app. You can find me on Facebook at The Second is for Everyone. You can also find Simon Says Train on Facebook, Simon Says Train on Instagram, Second for Everyone on Twitter. And understand you don't really need to go to a trainer. You can learn everything you need through YouTube. And high points are just as good as Glocks.
That's right. And
I was waiting to see if you're going to say that with a straight face or not.
Gimmick ammo like hollow.
So close, Tony. So close.
There's a reason why Uncle Sam issues ball ammo. It's fine.
Okay, I was trying, dude, and it was the dead silence after I said everything.
It's close, man.
Rob's head snapped up.
Right. Okay. Well, you've just inspired me. One of these nights we may do bad advice only. We'll get there, and we'll definitely invite you back for that because you're apparently full of it. So. The bad advice, I mean.
I'm so full of it, I'm not even a black guy. It's just it.
I've wondered.
Yep, now you know.
So that's like really bad jaundice is what you're saying.
I'm full of it.
Wow. All right. Wow, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Words out. We'll see if we get shut down after this one. So, Rich, final thoughts. Where can people find you?
If you can't handle the war of words or a word of ideas, don't let the door hit you where the Lord split you. And as far as where they can find me, well, it's right there on my name right there, Unloaded Media on YouTube. You can also find me at the Unloaded Media on Twitter. Be warned, my Twitter is not family friendly. And real quick, for a promotion, I'm going to throw out there for anybody out there who's a veteran, go to vettix.org, visitor/home, Sign up for an account. They get tickets for different sporting events, concerts, stage shows. What you name it, you can find all kinds of different tickets there. You pay a small fee for if you get the tickets, but otherwise, your tickets that'll cost you hundreds of dollars, $15. So if you're a veteran,
Tell me that one
go
more time.
sign
I'm
up.
typing it out here. VET.
Yeah, I got it. I just got to hit the send button.
Okay.
So there you go. Go there, sign up for it. It's a charitable organization. They'll charge you like a $15. It's like a shipping and handling fee kind of thing. Go sign up. Trust me, it's worth it. My wife and I and our son, we went to see the Price is Right stage show through them. It would have cost us over $100 for those tickets. We paid $15. If you're a veteran, do it. Get yourself some good tickets to good shows. I mean, rock concerts, like I said, blues concerts, R&B, the old school R&B, not this new stuff. I'm talking about like the bands that cover like the Four Tops and Temptations, that kind of R&B. You know what I mean? So go out there, check that out. If you're a veteran, great organization, and they also get discounts for different things. If you're a disabled veteran who's got a Purple Heart and stuff, they will give you tickets for anywhere. They got like a Make-A-Wish thing for those guys. Okay, so if you're not a veteran and you would like to support them, they have ways over there for you to donate to them. It's a great organization. Help those guys out.
Cool. All right, Rich, thanks for being here tonight and hanging out with us. And you guys know where to find me because you're here. So if you want other places to find me besides YouTube and Facebook, we've got the Twitter page now. You can also find the audio version anywhere where you can find podcasts, just under Sandhills Media as well. So go check that out. My final thoughts, and I know that I claim to be a grumpy old man, but I'm actually going to be hopefully uplifting and inspiring when I say this, but I don't care who you are. I don't care your gender, whether or not you have one or you've got multiples. I don't care. I don't care who you love. I don't care who you worship or if you worship. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what color your shoes are. I don't care what color your hair is or if you have hair. We want you. We need you to help us out. If you don't want to see your freedoms and your individual liberties trampled, then it's time. You can't just sit and watch somebody else do all the work. You're going to have to help too. We don't only want you, we need you. But we do. We want you. We want you in the fight. We will there's going to be people that don't agree with me. That's fine. I will help you ignore them, but you've got a seat at my table any day. So I don't care who you are. Like I said, I don't want to know what your politics are. I don't want to know what your gender, your sexual orientation, or your race or ethnicity. Any of that, none of that matters to me. If you are willing to help, then you are welcome here. So come help us out. Find out how. Reach out to anybody on this panel. Reach out to me. We'll help you get into the fight. And if you're in Nebraska, then please go to nebraskafirearms.org, because it doesn't cost anything to be a member here, but we want you and we need your help too. And if you're going to be in the Omaha area this Saturday, swing by Frontier Justice just off of 84th and West Center there in Omaha, and hang out with us. Even if you didn't get tickets to listen to Ed Monk, hang out with us. And nobody's hit me up. I've got an extra ticket because my bride has to work and she can't make the trip down there with me. So I've got a ticket to listen to Ed Monk. If anybody wants that ticket, let me know. I'd gladly donate it to somebody who wants to go and doesn't have the extra cash laying around to get in there and listen to that. So hit me up or just email info@nebraskafirearms.org and let them know that or ask if that ticket's still available. So get out there and join us. We'll see you there. Want to meet as many people as I can. It's going to be a lot of fun. And once all the public stuff is done, just so you guys know, we're already getting geared up for this next legislative session. We're going to put our heads together before the end of the day. Like I said, probably over supper. Just our board and a couple other people, but we're gonna build a game plan so we know exactly what we're gonna be doing this year. during this session to get the permitless carry bill across the goal line this time. We can't do it alone. We're going to need your help. We'll tell you what that help looks like once we've got everything figured out and everyone's on the same page. So stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody for joining us. We love you. God bless you. If you are out there in the comments, thanks for doing that. If you were watching and not commenting, I'm glad you're here. Make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe on YouTube or like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. But go find your local organization. Follow the big nationwide ones, but go join your local organizations that are actually doing the work to fight to preserve your rights and gain some of them back that have been trampled on. So, with that, thanks to Rob and Pat and Tony and Rich and everybody out there in the chat that was making it lively. I appreciate all you guys. Even if we don't always see eye to eye on stuff, I'm glad you're in the fight with us because again, we want you and we need you to be engaged. So we appreciate it. With that, I'm going to call it a night. It's time to go. Get off my lawn.